Feminism and Freud. What do the two have in common? Freud being a man, feminism being an ideology of sorts. I suppose they're a little different in that regard, but Freudian, the school of psychology, psychoanalysis, is what Freud made. Now, Freud had in psychology, a theory of everything. Like Freud had it all figured out as far as he was concerned. And, the Freudian school can, through psychoanalysis, can trace back, how childhood development or memes or whatever are, the cause of whatever dysfunction you may be feeling. In the case of, say, MGTOW, well, that just seems like an Oedipal complex that's gone all awry. Your mother would never have sex with you, therefore you give up all women because you're rejected by your own mother. Now, that was easy. That's the thing about Freud. If you know a little bit about it, it's easy to pigeonhole anybody into fucking anything. Or there's something in it for everyone, much like a Shakespearean play. Now, how is that similar to feminism? Well, especially now, old video, got more dislikes than it's got likes. This is Courtney Martin reinventing feminism. I guess she started Feministing, which I suppose is kind of a relatively horrible fucking, whatever. Feministing, you probably know of it. And the talk is very interesting. A lot about how influential her mother was to her development. And her dad's in the audience. Her mom didn't seem to be. I don't know why. It was interesting, anyway. Old video. But a lot of self-congratulatory stuff in it, as far as I can tell. And she's got, it's just, talking about how somehow immigration is a feminist issue. Like, that doesn't even make fucking sense. How is immigration a feminist issue unless you're talking about the immigration of women? Or, I don't know, maybe stopping child molesters from immigrating in somehow. As if that's something the feminism really ought to be pursuing. So, like, that's the thing about feminism. It's getting bigger, but it's not. That's the thing. It's not. There's resistance now. Probably for the first time in a long time, there's resistance, and that's going to be the death knell of feminism right there. I mean, it's already going down. Once you start expanding, feminism initially is suffrage, right? It wasn't even feminism, it was suffrage. We want the vote. They got the vote. Suffrage ended. I think elements of suffrage went on to ban alcohol for a little while. And that went not so well. But at this point, feminism is taking on all these different things. There's still core things that they pretty much gun for, but at this point we all know that the statistics are bunk that they like to throw around so much. They're just wrong. Or misrepresentation of the statistics. And it's the same as any other fucking campaign of misinformation. I mean, when gun deaths are cited, depending on the figures, 2/3 are suicides. And most of the murders are criminal on criminal violence, and then there's a chunk that are law enforcement officers, and then there's self-defense shootings, and so it's like mass murders Mass murders don't even account for, just to be safe, we'll say law enforcement killings and self-defense killings. That's about 200 or more. I'm not keeping those figures handy, but the fact of the matter is, mass shootings generally have less of a death toll than self-defense. Who knew, right? But they're in the media a lot, and just like feminism. I mean, they've got everything. It's done. It's been done. They got it. They got equality. Why does it keep going? Now that's the interesting thing. Well, you could say hypergamy, and that may be like the insatiable or the insatiable vagina, which always consumes. I don't know if that's the case. I mean, sounds too good. Sounds fucking awesome. Like if it were that easy, if that were the thing, and maybe it is. I don't know. What the fuck do I know? I'm just some guy on the internet. But maybe it's more like the March of Dimes. Did you know the March of Dimes was started to eliminate polio? You know polio? Probably not. You know who had it? Roosevelt, the World War II president, not Teddy. I could be wrong on that. Like I said, I'm just some guy on the internet. But the March of Dimes continues to this day with a very abstract goal. And that's what feminism is right now. And I don't know. Maybe it can go on like this. Or maybe it won't. But either way, it's not particularly useful in actually defining things anymore because it's gone the way of the Freudian school of psychoanalysis. You can pretty much lump anything under male privilege, patriarchy, oppression, privilege, patriarchy, oppression. Once you start to get into really abstract stuff, unless you're focusing on the abstract, but if you went from core something needs to change, oh, we changed that, okay, well, let's go a little more crazy, like the sex positive feminists. I don't know, why isn't there just a sex positive movement, like more focused, easier to talk about? Sexual shaming goes both ways. So, even though people claim that it doesn't, guys are studs. I don't know. Doesn't seem to me that players have a particularly good rap overall, or pickup artists. Seems like they're somewhere in this foggy middle, just like sluts. I mean, they're great, but at the same time, not so great. You don't want to marry them. But that's about it. Feminism, as far as a useful uh, descriptor of reality, it ain't. Just like Freudian psychoanalysis ain't a useful descriptor of psychology. Alright, thanks for listening.